Hi there, my name's Alasdair Kennedy and I'm the Sociable Social Worker, and I give practical advice to social workers and those wanting to foster and adopt. In this video we're going to look at effective supervision of foster carers and adopters. In this video the tip came from my Twitter feed and Katie Fisher, who's the service manager at Doncaster Children's Trust, so thanks Katie for that. So let's get on with it. If you're a supervising social worker, you need to know your caseload well. You need to know the people who want supervision done and dusted and the other carers who want to take the time and have more complicated or more longer term children in placement. So you need to plan ahead, don't you? You need to know which ones you need to be more focused with, but whoever it is, you still need to be reflective and effective, as I call it. Visit at different times of the day, and this is a really important one because I did an investigation once on a social worker who said they had visited a house and didn't even know what room the child stayed in. So I think it's really important that you visit at different times of the day and night, always see the child's bedrooms and always make sure that you see the child at least once in the month when you're doing your supervision visits. See the other partner or the other carer, not just the main carer. So sometimes, I mean, this is pretty much in the past, but a lot of the time male carers were left out of the picture. And when I used to run male support groups, people would always say to me, actually, we feel quite left out because people always, focus on the female. But now with the roles kind of changing in fostering and more men actually taking the main carer role, actually it's the female carer that can be left out. So it's important never to leave out who's not the main carer or is classed as the main carer, if there's a main carer class anymore. There might be some carers that you don't want to write everything down with. And now with technology, I suppose, people have started using laptops, and some people use iPads and things like that, but maybe sometimes it's quite good if you can, because obviously the COVID thing is record, and maybe in the future we will end up just recording supervision. However, I think sometimes it's not always good just to be writing and writing and writing when people talk. Sometimes it's quite good just to go in, have a cup of tea, set the scene, ask what's happening. And that comes as, what's the difference between support, what's the difference between supervision? And that's a completely different video. Make sure that you use actions from the last supervision as well. It's a really important point, this. A lot of supervising social workers forget that actually you need to keep progress of the placement and of the children in placement. It's necessarily not just as easy looking through your case notes. What you need to do is actually have set out actions, then go back through those actions and see to the carer how they've developed as well, and how they've developed in confidence in their skills, and it also helps reflection as well. And always log the referrals that carers turn down. I find this time and time again that new carers turn down referrals, and what you need to be doing is saying to them, you can do this, but it's also key that you log all those referrals that they've turned down, because it's always a sticking point. If they decide to leave at one point, they might say to the fostering panel or to the ADM, actually I'm leaving because I never got any referrals, and you've got the detail there to say, well actually guys, you did, and these are all the referrals you turned down. Every small thing must be picked up in supervision. So if there's even a mention or a hint of a safeguarding issue, then you need to explore that. Even though you've got a relationship with these carers, it sometimes can be difficult, even more difficult because you have. It's important that you don't lose focus of safeguarding and child protection. So for example, I worked with a couple and what they did was they said to me in supervision, oh yeah, and we put up this camera in our house. And I went, what? Camera? What's camera for? And then subsequently when we talked about it and then we looked further into it, and ended up becoming a child protection issue, unfortunately, that they actually had put cameras all the way through the house and hadn't told us. But by me, if I had just glossed over that, then some of the stuff that came out later on, which was quite disturbing, we would never have known about. Make sure carers prioritise their diary keeping or their log keeping or their daily log or whatever you call it in your organisation, and make sure they just don't write settled. And also, one of the big bugbears for me when I was a supervising social worker was when they always go on holiday, they just forget to write their logs, and when you get them back it just says settled. And I think it's really important on a holiday particularly, because you want to know how the holiday went. You know, was it really positive? And what did they learn from it? What was the outcomes from it? I once worked with a child who had never been on an airplane before, and we had to work up to it week by week by week by creating chairs in the living room and pretending it was a flight, and who was the air stewardess and who was the pilot and all these things and the noises and all that kind of stuff to make them feel comfortable about flying. And why just write settled then when you come back? Ensure you talk about training. No, really, talk about training, because you've all heard the excuses from experienced carers. Well, you do the same training every year, it's safer care, it's first aid, but actually the training is so vitally important. And as I said before, we need to log how things have progressed and how they have moved on in confidence. And yes, they might have been with you for 10 years or whatever, but it's still important that they do those core skills and they update their core skills. Yeah, you know, they can't even say now about travelling when things are online, but I'm sure they'll find excuses sometimes to not do things online. I remember working in the Isle of Man, and the journey from where we did the training to journey where most of the carers lived was about 30 kilometres. And they said, oh, it's too far. Well, actually, it wasn't really that far. It took about half an hour. It's the Isle of Man. There wasn't much traffic. But then the best excuse ever was when a foster carer said to me, I'm not coming to Castletown because it's too grey. Too grey. The buildings are too grey. And I thought, I've heard it all now. So what I would say about training is you can't please all the people all of the time. You might have a great, fantastic training programme, but there'll be still those people who just won't engage. But how do you get them to engage? That's for a completely different video. So that was a bit of a longer video than usual about the effective use of supervision with carers. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a like. If you want to subscribe, please subscribe. That'd be great. And if you want notifications about other videos, because we're going to do one on matching children with foster carers, then ring the little bell. Ding-a-ling-a-ling. Okay, thanks a lot.